Welcome to Soveryn Podcast, the voice of independent Luxembourg.
Hello, this is Paul Comrie, host of Soveryn Podcast, where we discuss the highs and lows of startup culture, being independent and building a brand. Today we have my good friend Trev in studio.
Good afternoon.
And of course, so we're not only building a brand, we are building a body.
Yep.
And today we're not going to be talking about the weeks because we've hit a phase 2, as Trev was saying. We've gone into the next stage of my training.
Correct. We've done 6 or 7 weeks and now we start all over again.
Very good. Okay, so I think I have to give a small recap.
Yep.
So I thought I would give a recap actually of the stages of which we've gone through, because we've hit a bit of a milestone for me.
Correct.
It's a big one. And so when I think back on it, basically it comes down to, first you got me training on the Sundays.
Yep.
Which I nearly thought I was going to die at the end of the first one.
Yes.
And then after that I was just anxiety driven, but the first one was brutal. After that was the hurdle to get me counting my steps.
Yep.
Then was the food diary.
Correct.
And finally came the scale.
Yep.
And so the positive for me, and it's a positive also for Trev, because he's the one training me, he's the mastermind behind this, is I lost 13 kg working with Trev in the last 6 weeks. So
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special week for us. If you let me
Absolutely.
go into it, it's actually been a 2-week. We missed the podcast last week, but we missed it deliberately. We'd got to a stage, as Paul said, where we got to the scales. Again, the usual, I leave on my scooter and I'm thinking, what have we been up to? And it's like, it's just too much going on. The steps were increasing. The training was getting harder.
Yeah.
The food diary, I was getting tighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you to get on the scales.
Yeah.
And I think I was a little bit unfair to ask so much in 1 week. We had a quick chat and we agreed it's going to go over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I knew at some stage we were going to get to this point. I've mentioned it, I think, in nearly every podcast. And it's like, I don't want to focus on the weight. But ultimately, the weight's got to come off and we need to know.
Yeah.
So we talk to our friends and whoever about this every week. I mean, I've spread the word. Paul's lost 13 kilograms. And people are like, everybody's suddenly like, oh, wow. Everybody's interested how and why. But the first thing I really want to say is fitness first.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to celebrate the 13 kilos. But for me, it's the fitness level. You must be walking different. How is it go? How does it feel to be 13 kilos lighter?
I think I feel it more now that I've weighed myself.
Yeah.
But I think I remember saying to you in the last 3 weeks, I know that I've lost weight. I just don't know how much.
Yes. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. But what I think affected me psychologically is it just sort of jumping back in. There's more eagerness there's less fear of beginning.
Yeah.
And so I'm actively integrating the training in my lifestyle day to day more.
Yeah.
So for example, yesterday going to physiotherapy, as I was saying to you, rather than drive there at the last minute, I took an hour out of work and prepared so that I could walk there.
Brilliant. Yeah. And this is what we talked about in the early days. Everything's arriving as I wanted it to. There's no processes in place for Paul to hit these steps. He's got processes to hit the steps, he's got processes to come to the training, and he's now got processes for his diet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we've got everything. We really are moving. The scales, I was as eager as Paul, but I'm also eager not to focus on the success. Is not all about the 13 kilos. The success is when I come in here today and I can see Paul bouncing around the office, 13 kilos lighter, fitter and stronger. We've got 2 huge goals. And the one is the weight. The second one is, when we first started, you was doing less than 23,000 steps a day. This week...
A week. Yeah.
Sorry, 23,000 a day. This week, you've just done 57,000 steps in the week. The weather is, 10, 12, 14 degrees warmer than what it was. So your fitness level has come on tremendously.
Yeah, tremendously. My
Absolutely
wind is back.
Superb.
Yeah.
Fitness first, that's what we're going to concentrate on. We're going to talk, everybody's going to be interested in how you've lost the food. Lost the weight. When we started, you said to me, I asked you what the nemesis was, what is the problem? And you said it was binge eating.
Yeah.
When I looked at Paul's food diary, and he was very honest, I'm looking and his diet was good. There's always quick fixes. Paul's quick fixes were, he liked peanut butter. Okay, you like peanut butter, take half peanut butter. that was kind of like a 200-300 calorie gain
Yeah.
that you don't even notice. The other quick gain was the fruit juice.
Yeah.
Paul drinks fruit juice. It's like mix it with water, 50-50.
Yeah.
So you did them. They were the quick gains. Then I can just see that you became more balanced with your eating.
Mm-hmm.
You avoided some of the snacky things and focused more on the meals. But getting back to the core, you said it was binge eating.
Yeah.
Like, you've not had a binge weekend since we started.
No.
And I think, you knew exactly what was going on. The binge was the problem.
Well, I was saying that is that particularly, once you get overweight and people think that you're eating all the time, it's not true, at least not in my context. My context was I would gain some weight and then I would just plateau there. And I would often eat, I was eating worse when I wasn't tracking it, but I wasn't eating that much on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
What's happened is that I'm intermittent fasting. I'm eating usually around 4:30 and 7 p.m. I'm eating those in that window.
Yeah.
And I'm eating twice during that time.
Yeah.
And I'm but they're reasonable sized meals. They're really, really healthy meals. They're, as I said, they're protein in arugula salad.
Yeah. I don't want to use the term suffering, but for me, I'm not the man doing it, but I don't think you've really suffered with the eating.
No, I haven't. It's been fine.
And that's why I'm more relaxed than I've ever been. If you're not suffering, it's sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Paul, I cannot understate the moving. The early days, if you're not doing 2,000 steps at a weekend and you're consuming 10,000 calories on binge eating, that weight's going to pile on.
It's going to pile on, yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah.
You've got that under control. So we talked about monitor. We talked about me motivating.
Yeah.
And we talked about these overlapping circles.
Yeah.
And I said at some stage these circles would open up. Those circles are opening up. You're becoming more dependent. So I'm going to be here, but you're not going to need me like you did.
No, that's true.
So after this phase, I come on to the other one, the 3 Ds. Discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline's critical. We were disciplined. We. Together.
Yeah.
The discipline was a shared responsibility. Now, you're disciplined.
That's very true.
Determination. Early doors, I think it's fair to say, I was the determined one.
That's true. 100%.
Yep. And now
I wouldn't have got to those trainings without you. I wouldn't have done those steps without you. It was all your discipline.
But now, the determination is over to you.
Yep.
And the final one is dedication. We have a little chat before we come on air, but Paul's already talking about the next phase, the next 2 or 3 months. That's showing his dedication to what he's doing. If you're you've got the discipline, you've got the determination, and now you've got the dedication for it. You've got it all.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, and it's been on the back of my mind, is don't get injured. Don't push it too far. I've been doing the last 3-4 days. I've been doing every day this week. I've been doing almost 10,000 steps a day.
Yep.
Or sometimes over. Yep. And I just realized just walking to work today, I was like, I should try to balance this a little bit.
Do you know what? That's a great point. So we know what I would call phase 1 is gone. We've arrived now. What we're going to do, we're into the maintaining phase.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the weight quickly. It's not. I'm happy with 500 grams a week.
Yeah.
I'm happy with less if it's less. What I'm on about is maintaining everything, maintaining the steps, maintaining the training. But what's happening with Paul is, before, I don't know if you've noticed the speed you're walking.
The speed is much faster. Yeah.
Yeah, and with that speed, and I'm assuming you're going up and down more steps. And
everything.
Yeah, the training. We did the training last week, and it wasn't injuries, but people are starting. The boxing gets quicker. The boxing gets harder. So, and we're going to talk. We might as well start talking about the future now. Paul's now. I'm focusing more on this sustainability, and one of the things we've discussed this morning is the shoes.
Yeah.
The footwear. If you're doing, footwear is always important, but if you're doing 1,500 steps a day, it's like, okay, you might need a €150 pair of training shoes, but it's not critical. You're not far away from a 15,000 step day. You've brought the 10,000 mark.
Yeah.
That brings a different style. So what we've already started talking about, we're going to check the footwear. The training, it's now a case of I'm actually going to turn off. Last week at training is calm down, relax.
Mm-hmm.
You've reached a great level And this is what we're just going to roll now. We've climbed the mountain, and no way is it over. No way is it over. However, we're on a gentle decline.
Yeah, it's rolling.
But what we don't want is that decline to become a runaway train down the other side of the hill. You know,
That's very true.
So it's like...
Because I go to extremes.
I can see you go to extremes.
I do everything in extremes. I do my work extreme. I do everything extreme.
Yeah. Right, my last one, scales. The scales, I don't think it's too strong a word to use, it was a fear factor for you.
Absolutely.
Are you willing to share any of that? You know, what was the psychology behind that?
I think it's just like everything. The number one thing when you have a problem is to get it out on the table and to get transparency about it.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's a discipline I have in my work life and in my personal life.
Yes.
But I haven't had it with food or fitness, and I haven't had it for a long time. I just didn't want to deal with it. It was a problem. I knew it was a problem. As they say, I kicked the can down the road. I just didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
Working with you, one of the things that's really brought home is that so many people like me are at my stage and then they get sick.
Yeah.
And I wasn't yet sick, but I was very close.
Yeah.
And so I just knew that this, when you would talk about other people that you've seen or 10 years down the road and they're on medication, and I just knew this has to change.
Yeah, you was right on that line. You know, it was the perfect storm for us.
Yeah.
You know, we arrived, you know, we met at the perfect time.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great. Again, like most of these things, this isn't uncommon. I have people who don't want to weigh, and Paul was one of them. I have other people who don't want to share the weight. I'm not really bothered what you weigh, but I need to monitor it to see how we're going to trim it. So what I often suggest is, let's just call whatever weight you are today 0, and every week we either go up or down on 0.
Yeah.
And if that works, it works. The other one with weighing, because it is a big thing, I recommend weighing regular. Whether
How
you
often?
share it every other day.
Every other day.
Only if it fits. It's you control. This is what I'm saying. You're in control. The reason why I do it is, I do it myself. It's easy to have a bad day and say, oh, I'll recover tomorrow. You can recover tomorrow. If you have another bad day, oh, I'll recover tomorrow. If you jump on the scales, you see that bad day the day after, and you see the day after and the day after. If you leave it for 7 days, it's like, oh, I've put 3 kilos back on. So for me, but it's psychological. It's how comfortable you are.
Absolutely, yeah.
So in a nutshell, we're going to keep steps don't change, training doesn't change, the diet doesn't change, and this week we're just going to leave it all up to you to set everything.
Yeah.
And then the next time we're going to just do, I want a weigh-in. All I want to know is one weigh-in at the end of the week.
Very good.
So it's maintain, relax, enjoy. 1 week's time, let's see what's happening, and then we'll move on.
Very good.
Brilliant period for us.
Thank you so much, Trev.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.